Hey everybody, it's Nathaniel Avila reporting from Greater Orlando, and I'm here with Timbrel Hildebrand reporting from Crowley, Texas. And today we're going to be talking about Wally. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so Wally is was made in 2008, but it has like a lot. It was very commentative, like a bunch of stuff that you can dissect from this film. Like it was about like it had comments on like uh pollution, climate change, uh corporate consumerism, dependence on technology, like a bunch of stuff. So how do you think this film managed to like juggle all of these different types of commentary?
Well, I think they told a good story, and when you tell a good story, everything else will kind of speak for itself. They had a good idea about kind of a simple story that they wrapped around with a bunch of other, I guess you could say, commentary on pollution and stuff like that. So, since it was a good story, that supported everything else that they were trying to get across.
So I'm gonna get some background about this film, and there's quite a bit. So the story of Wally started in 1994, near the end of Toy Story, and there was this very famous lunch that occurred amongst all the people who were like pretty high up in Pixar, uh, which included Andrew Stanton, who made the film, uh, John Lasseter, Pete Docter, and Joe Ranft were in this lunch. And in this lunch, they brainstormed like a bunch of ideas for the future of like Pixar, like what films are gonna do next after Toy Story. And this included like films like A Bug's Life, Monsters Inc., and
Mm.
Finding Nemo. So, and it also included this film, Wally, when Stan said, "What if mankind had to leave Earth and somebody forgot to turn off the last robot? Yuck, yuck, yuck." So having struggled for many years with making characters of Toy Story appealing, Stan found this, found his simple, Robinson Crusoe esque idea of a lonely robot in a deserted planet pretty strong. So Stan made Wally a waste collector, as the idea was instantly like it was understandable because of how because it was like a low status menial job, and therefore he was sympathetic in that way. So Stan liked the imagery of like a bunch of stacked cubes of garbage, and they're towering above like their own like modern skyscraper skyline. So, and he did find the idea also pretty dark because having a planet covered in garbage was like for him a childish imagining of a disaster. So moving on, Stan and Pete Docter developed the film under the title of Trash Planet. So that was its original title for 2 months in 1995. But they did not know how to like develop the story, and Doctor went on to make Monsters Inc. Instead. So Stan came up with the idea of Wally finding a plant because his life was like the sole inhabitant of a deserted world, reminded Stan of a plant growing among pavements and such.
Uh-huh.
So before they turned their attention to other projects, Stan and Lasseter thought about having Wally fall in love, like a love story, as it was a necessary progression away from loneliness. Okay, so that makes sense. So Stan started writing Wally over again in 2002, while he was completing Finding Nemo. Stan formatted the script in a manner reminiscent of Alien, which was written by Dan O'Bannon. So O'Bannon wrote his script in a manner Stanton found reminded him of like a haiku, where visual descriptions are done in continuous lines of a few words. So Stanton wrote his robot dialogue conventionally, but placed them in brackets. So like I have like a sample of what the script looks like right here. So I'm just gonna read a little bit from it. So it says here, this is like scene direction, where Mo and Wally meet. So Mo just finishes cleaning the floor. Wally is spelled Wally in the script, by the way. Uh,
Hmm.
is fascinated. Impishly, look makes another mark. Mo compulsively cleans it. Period. Can't resist. Period. And so Mo, this is like the character line. Mo parentheses bleeps, and then in brackets says, "Look, it stays clean. You got that?" And then Wally wipes the bottom of his tread on Moe's face. And so basically, that's basically the format of how it was written. So he basically wrote dialogue in brackets of what he wanted, like the beeps to convey, like the noises. Um, in late 2003, Stan and a few others created a story reel for the first 20 minutes of the film. Lasseter and Steve Jobs, yes, that Steve Jobs, were impressed.
That one?
Yeah, that one, the Apple guy, yeah. So they were impressed and officially began development. Though Jobs stated that he did not like the title, which was spelled WAL dash E. So while the first act of Wall-E fell out of the sky for Stanton, uh, he originally wanted aliens to plant Eve to explore Earth, and the rest of the film was different. So when Wall-E comes from the Axiom, he incites like a Spartacus-style rebellion by the robots against the remnants of the human race, which were cruel alien gels. Ooh. James Hicks, who was a psychiatrist, mentioned to Stanton the concept of atrophy and the effects of prolonged weightlessness would have on humans living in space in an orderly expanded time period. Therefore, this actually was inspiration of humans degenerating into like alien gels, and their ancestry would have been like revealed in like a Planet of the Apes style ending. Oh, that what a twist! So the gels, that's what they're called. But the gels also spoke a made-up gibberish language, but Stan scrapped this idea because he thought it would be too complicated for the audience to understand, and they would easily have been driven off from the storyline. So the gels had a royal family who hosted a dance in the castle on a lake in the back of the ship.
Wow,
And
this was all very, very different.
oh yeah, it's it's really different.
This
So
would have made the movie very different.
yeah, do you think that the current version is better than this version?
Yes, I think it works better with it being human. I think that gives it a bit more substance than I think Aliens would have.
Yeah.
Aliens, I feel like, would have made it too hokey. By making it people, it gives the story a little bit more heart.
Yeah, I agree. So, the Axiom then curled up into a ball when returning to Earth, and this incarnation of the story. So, Stan decided that this was way too bizarre and unengaging, and conceived humanity as big babies. So, Stan developed the metaphorical thing of the humans learning to stand up and growing up, wanting Wall-E and Eve's relationship to inspire humanity because he felt few films explore how utopian societies come to exist. So the process of depicting the descendants of humanity was the way they appear in the film was slow. So Stan first decided to put a nose and ears on the gels so the audience would recognize them. Eventually, fingers, legs, clothes, and other characteristics were added until they arrived at a concept of being like a fetus, like to allow the audience to see themselves in the characters. But later on, like a later version of the film, Otto comes to the docking bay to retrieve Eve's plant. The film would have had his first cutaway to the captain, but Stan moved that as he found it too early to begin moving away from Wally's point of view. As an homage to the film Get Smart, Otto takes the plant and goes to the bowels of the ship into the room resembling a brain where he watches videos of by and large's scheme to clean up Earth's falling apart through the years. So Stan removed this to keep some mystery as to why the plant is taken from Eve, and the captain remains to be unintelligent. But Stan wanted him to just be unchallenged. Therefore, he could not have been unsympathetic. So one example of how unintelligent the captain would have been depicted initially is that he would have been seen to wear his hat upside down, only to fix it before he challenges Otto, and laughter ensues. But in the finished film, he merely wears it casually atop his head, tightening it when he finally really takes command of the Axiom. Okay, so now moving on to Eve. Originally, she would have been electrocuted by Otto and then be quickly saved from ejection at the hands of the Wall A robots by Wall E. He would have been revived. He would have revived her by replacing the power unit with a cigarette lighter he brought from Earth. So Stan reversed this following the 2007 test screening, as he wanted to show Eve replacing her directive of bringing the plant to the captain with repairing Wally, and it made Wally even more heroic if he held the hollow detector open despite being badly hurt. So Stan also moved the movement where Wally reveals his plant from producing it from a closet to immediately after his escape, as it made Eve happier and gave them stronger motivation to dance around the ship. Stan felt half the audience at the screening believed the humans would be unable to cope with living on Earth and would have died out after the film's end. So Jim Capobianco, who directed the short film Your Friend the Rat, which is like a that bonus feature Ratatouille uh, featurette thing, created an end credits animation that created the story and stylized in different artistic movements throughout history to clarify an optimistic tone. And that is the end. That is the story of Wall-E.
Neat.
Yeah. Oh, geez. That was a lot. So,
Yeah, it was a lot.
yeah. So what did you think about the character of, like, the relationship between Wall-E and Eve?
Oh my word. You know, this romance story tells a better story than most movies can do with a crap ton of words and several sequels. Not pointing anybody out, Twilight. But,
Oh, snap. Oh.
but what I mean is this is such a beautiful and just heartwarming tale of romance that's told completely without words, which just kind of shows that this relationship is built upon like mutual respect and just attraction to one another through each other. Like, honestly, it's because Wally is so innocent and sincere that appeals to Eve because she's driven, and she's also very sincere, but she's not nearly as innocent. So it's really interesting because, you know, they're not human, so it's not quite the same. They don't have quite the same barriers that humans would have in relationships. And it's very beautiful because he's just so, it's really like sweet to watch how Wally's just completely taken with this angelic but also like really dangerous being from above, and you know, being it almost is kind of, you know, it's almost like she's an angel and he's just a person on Earth, and it's a really sweet story that you get to, I think, builds in a very realistic way throughout the movie, so that by the end you are totally heartbroken when, you know, Wally gets crushed and Eve's trying to save him.
Yeah, so, like, do you think, like, this film, the romance between these two robots was a lot more convincing than most films do with human characters?
Sometimes.
Yeah. I know they do have, like, their own human romance between those two passengers. I don't remember their names, though.
It was
John,
like Mary and John, I
Mary and
believe.
John, yeah. What did you think about those two characters?
They were nice. I liked it. They kind of represented, you know, how the people were starting to break out of sort of this veil they were living underneath because Wally was opening their eyes to stuff. So I
Yeah.
thought they were nice. Plus, John Ratzenberger, who plays Ham in Toy Story and also has a role in every single Pixar film, he played John. So it was cool to hear his voice.
Yeah, and then, because it was all about those phones, though. That's why they were all like they were like zombies because of those phones. Am I right?
Yep.
So, what do you think like this story had to say about like corporate consumerism? Because like by and large was like viewed as like this giant thing.
Mhm. Honestly, I don't really know what they were trying to say about that. I mean, I guess they were just kind of showing like I felt like this movie was just kind of showing the dangers of, I guess, like not caring for the earth and stuff like that,
Huh?
and being too consumed with greed and, you know, that sort of thing. So I felt like that was kind of the main theme, and by and large was, you know, the, I guess, the figurehead behind how
Mm,
they were mistreating the earth and whatnot.
yeah. Didn't by and large also try to clean up the Earth though? That's what Wally came from.
Yeah,
But then they gave up pretty
yeah.
quickly. And so, like, it looks like most like their world is mostly driven from this corporate entity that's basically telling them what to do and where to go and what to feel. So
hmm
like, do you think like this film definitely depicts our modern reality?
I think it definitely does depict certain pitfalls of our modern reality and kind of shows them to the extreme. If it's sort of almost like it shows it to what it could become if we're not responsible and cognizant and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Do you think like this type of future is possible in our own in real life?
I doubt it. I
Okay.
doubt it. But I mean, I think it's. I mean, I think it's possible that we might. I mean, we're already messing up the Earth, but I mean, I. I have a little. I have faith that we'll never get to the point that we're out in space necessarily.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
like I don't view technology as bad. I don't think technology is evil. I think it definitely helps us do things and progress things, as long as we don't view technology as or like an overlord in our lives, like a kind of like a god figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, do you have those same notions on technology?
I mean, technology's technology. I don't really delve that deeply into technology. I use it quite a bit, but I mean, I wouldn't say, I would say that it's helpful in a lot of situations, but like anything, everything in moderation, that sort of thing. There is such thing as too much of a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like, did you catch like a bunch of the biblical references in this film?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Oh, okay. Like, how the axiom is like a Noah's Ark.
Oh, I didn't think of that. That's a
Yeah,
good point. I didn't
yeah.
think of that.
It's like a Noah's Ark. So like they put like the ship to save humanity from this like polluted Earth in order to come back after it was good, and also the it also like takes reference like that one part in the story of Noah where he would send out a dove or like a crow sometimes uh, in order to like check for land, and the role of the bird is filled by Eve. You know what I mean?
Wow, I didn't even think about that. That's a
Yeah,
good point. I,
yeah,
I, I never thought about that.
yeah.
That's neat.
And her name is Eve. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
The mother of humanity. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's interesting. I never noticed that. Never
Yeah,
caught that.
it makes you think. So, and also like, in the end, Wally ends up sacrificing his life for the rest of humanity, only to be resurrected again. It kind of reminds you of another figure, huh?
Oh yeah, I guess for me that just kind of seems like kind of run of the mill Christ imagery. Like they use that in a lot of movies, which I do think still resonates from that Christ-like imagery. I guess that's why I didn't notice it though, just because a lot of movies do it.
Yeah, like the most blatant cross Christ-like imagery that I've ever seen was in Batman versus Superman,
Oh
where
yeah, that was pretty. Yeah.
where Superman dies and then you see crosses in the background, and I'm
Oh, I
like,
I didn't even notice that.
oh, yeah. Like wow, like Zack Snyder, you're not slick. I know what you're trying to say.
Oh, I know that's what he was trying to say. He's been very upfront about that. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I
So
guess that's the point.
yeah. So like um so yeah, like this like a bunch of these biblical references within the film. Do you think that adds to your experience to the movie?
It is interesting. I think it's very interesting. I never thought about that before. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. What like okay, so how do you think Wally became sentient in the first place?
I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to think about it that hard. I mean, all the robots are sentient in this version of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, but then some people say that some people believe that Wally was most likely struck by lightning, and that would have ended up him becoming sentient because he was hit by lightning twice in the film. Uh,
Oh, I
so
don't know. I mean, he feels pretty sentient the entire movie, so I don't know.
yeah, but when he comes back, he's just like a regular robot.
He was fine.
Okay, he was just fine. He just needed to walk it off. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, so like there was this other scene where Wally ends up like liberating or inadvertently liberating a bunch of defunct robots. And so what did you think about that film? That scene, I mean.
Oh, I love that scene because it's kind of like the janky robots or whatever, and he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't even do it on purpose. He just accidentally sets everybody free, and
Mm-hmm.
and then they put him up as kind of like their leader and stuff. I think it's very funny.
Yeah, and also like helps us realize that even though a person might not be perfect or like fit into what society wants you to do, you can still have value.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if that was what they were going for, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So wait, one second. Um. So yeah, like uh do. So yeah, like what are your other thoughts on Wally?
Well, I mean, there's just so much to talk about in this movie. I think it's really interesting how they interlaced live action stuff with the animated footage. I thought that was really neat. It sort of added, I guess, a bit of reality to the already very, relatable subject matter. I really loved how they included stuff from Hello Dolly. That's a pretty cool musical. Well, it's the one that Wally's listening to and watching while he's on Earth. I thought that was cool. Um, I loved all the characters. I thought all of them were a lot of fun. Eve is super cool. I love her because, like I said, like she's kind of I guess the soldier almost character. That Wally needs to stay safe and stuff. Like she's very strong and whatnot. And Wally is just an immensely enjoyable character just because he's so innocent, and that innocence is what I guess that innocence drives him to do what's right, and
Oh
I
yeah.
really like that.
Yeah, like also Wally definitely tries to teach these other robots who have been like doing their job for centuries um how to be like more like individualistic or unique. Like how that one scene where he teaches that one robot how to wave with the little
Oh, that
nub.
was so cute. I loved that.
Yeah. So it definitely has a good message. Like there's a lot of good things about this film. Like
Yeah, for sure.
how like even though like we could like even though we are most likely like we're destroying the planet and everything, and even though like things are at its darkest and in its bleakest, things can we still have hope. And then things can still like turn out for the better if we strive for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very much like a beacon of hope, of striving for the best interest of others and whatnot. And I think it's a really great movie.
Mhm. So like
Yeah, I love the character of Mo. I absolutely love him because I love how Wally just messes with him because it's Mo's job to clean up everything, and he just makes it his sole purpose to go clean up everything the big mess Wally made, and I just love it because it's clear that Wally's just driving him crazy because he's so dirty, and I loved that.
yeah, like Mo is also another really good character because like his character is like, oh, okay, my I do this thing and that's what I do. That's all I do.
Yeah.
And like he confides himself to like the lines and stuff. Like that one
Hmm.
scene where he's first introduced, where he stops the rest of the robots, wait for the lines to come out, and then as soon as it comes out, then he'll leave. So he's
Yeah.
very a stickler to the rules. But when Wally
Yeah.
started like leaving dirt and stuff everywhere, he's like, "Oh no! Now I have a choice. Do I do my job, or what? Do my job, or do I stick with the rules that I have to do?" So like, and then he finally decides, you know what, I'm just gonna do my job with disregard with the with the rules that I have to confide by. So and then he just breaks so free from that and starts doing his job in the way that
Yeah.
he wants to do it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. Like also, do you think like does this film have a villain?
A villain? I mean, I guess you could say that Otto's kind of the villain because he's I guess, the force that stops them from doing what the protagonist needs to do. So, I mean, I guess you could call him a villain, but I would say he doesn't really get introduced
Mm-hmm.
till later into the film.
Yeah. Like the thing about Otto is that the robot, the Otto is not a sentient robot. He only does things that he is programmed to do.
Hmm.
So, I don't know if I would call him a villain because he's not deliberately doing things just to be evil. He's doing things to, like, just because that's what his directive was.
Yeah.
Uh, so, like, definitely he's definitely the antagonist because his goal is direct conflict with the protagonist. So, but definitely the entire like societal the societal environment that the characters are in is definitely the villain of the film, like the major conflict, because the
Mhm.
rest of like the axiom wants them to just confide in like be content and take the path of least resistance and just like stay the way they've been for the last 700 years instead of just doing what they were originally planning on doing is like go back to Earth. But they don't want them to do that. They want them to stay there and just be content forever.
Yeah.
So like okay, so like if we were in that environment, uh hypothetically, like if we were in the world of Wally, like we were in the Axiom and we were like floating around and stuff, would you rather break free from that or just stay in that mindset?
I think I'd rather break free from that because I mean the whole thing about living there is it's very self-centered, and I just don't think that's no way to live. You know, where you're only thinking about yourself all the time.
Mm-hmm. Like trying to like just like your face is in a screen 24/7.
Yeah, like that's not good for your soul. I don't think.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it definitely destroys the body and kills the soul, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it destroys the body for sure.
Yeah. So, the end, did you really enjoy the end?
Oh yes, I love that, and I really liked the in credits animation. I love how it gives this message of hope, you know. And the animation is just very pretty too, so I liked that also. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really nice cuz it definitely gives like a really nice hearted feeling in the film. Uh like are you aware of like the Pixar theory?
What all those weird whatnots,
What was that?
all those weird conspiracy whatnots.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them. Are you gonna say the whole thing how like the tree from the boot is the tree in Bug's Life or something like that? I heard about that.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say like I was gonna bring like during those 700 years that humanity has been in the Axiom, uh, the that's when Cars was supposed to be taking place.
Oh, I don't like cars, so I mean, I don't really care about that.
Really, you didn't like the masterpiece of Cars 2?
I don't like cars in general, so
You didn't like any like none of the cars, like none of the three.
no, no,
Okay, but
sorry, not my fave.
okay, but like but I Am Speed and Kachow. Those
I mean,
that
I like Owen Wilson, just not the movies.
okay. So yeah, like any final thoughts about Wally?
Um, it's a great movie. It's sweet, it's heartfelt, it has characters that you love, makes you laugh, makes you cry. It's a great movie.
Yeah, but I know some people consider Wally to be the best film produced out of Pixar. Would you agree?
I'd say it's up there. I'd be hesitant to peg any Pixar movie as that because they have a lot of good movies. So
Oh yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if I'd put Wally there, but it's definitely one of their best. I'll give them that.
yeah. Like, do you like? I know that a lot of like Pixar does like make a lot of good films, like not in, like excluding the Cars stuff. Uh,
Yeah,
and so like I'm looking forward to see what they do next. I don't. What are they planning on doing next? Are they planning on what are they
beats
planning?
me.
I think it was a dragon thing, like something about dragons.
That'd be
Uh,
cool.
yeah, it's called How to Train Your Dragon. Uh,
Haha, very funny.
How to Train Your Dragon 4. I can't wait. And so like, would you recommend this film?
Oh yeah, for sure. This is a great movie. I think it's a great movie to watch,
Yeah,
whether you're 5 or 50.
yeah, I would agree too. Because I watched this film when it came out in theaters in 2008, and I think that was 12 years ago. I was 13 when it came out,
Hmm.
and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie,
Yeah,
regardless of how old you are.
yeah. So like, what would you rate this film?
I might give it a 10 out of 10. It's
That
a great movie.
that's what I would give it to. I would give it a 10 out of 10 because it was like a near perfect film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that they used A113 a bunch because
Yep.
because that's what it is. So that's Wally for you. Check it out; it's really good, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.